All right. So, what's new? What's good? What do we want to talk about? Are there current events to deal with?
Well, I guess just going off of our last episode, let's see. The president's not dead.
The president did not have coronavirus. Come
No,
on.
he didn't.
I mean, have you ever seen Contagion or Outbreak or something like that?
I've seen the beginning of Contagion.
Okay, then you probably don't know this, but Jude Law, he is a character in that movie. And he's got this conspiracy theory website kind of thing, and he's trying to like expose this, and he's kind of an amalgam of things that are very, very true and present right now. But one of the things he's doing is like he also has a really great bubble suit that he uses at some point. But anyway, he gets the contagion virus, and then he uses this like miracle drug, and he's like doing like YouTube live updates. You know, he's like a live vlogger kind of guy.
Okay.
And then he cures himself within a few days. And then you later find out that I don't know if it's confirmed that he never had it, but you basically find out that he invested a shit ton in the company that was making the drug, and he was just doing it as an act.
I see.
I mean, what are the chances? I mean, it just seems like very, very convenient for him to get it, be fine, and then walk away so he can then justify what he's been saying for the past 9 months while everyone's dying.
That sounds thrilling, and I wish I had seen that part of the movie because that sounds like I could apply it to our modern times.
Yeah, it's
Well,
very
I mean,
much. Actually, at the time, it was probably what you were into. Also, like it was
Yeah,
in 2010
maybe.
or
Yeah.
so.
I don't know. I think he had it. I just think he's on a ton of drugs right now, which is kind of its own entertaining thing on it. That's like I don't know. I love watching the videos of him just high as shit at his rallies. Also, he's having rallies. Like it's the whole thing is just beyond parody.
Yeah.
But man,
Okay,
he
so
is
maybe
he is fucking. Oh, he's feeling good. The dancing.
maybe he does have or did or does have it, and the I guess perhaps the Occam's razor sort of simplest solution is just that he's the fucking president and he's got experimental treatments and every doctor that he could ever want and everything at his disposal.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it seems
Okay.
like there's like plenty of accusations and like maybe some proof here and there that he does drugs anyways, but you can't tell me that he hasn't turned it up a notch in the last week or two.
I actually haven't seen anything from him. I did see someone like, doing a split screen between him and SpongeBob dancing, and that was like whatever. But
I didn't see that.
I've only seen his weird video updates from in front of the White House where one person claimed to have proved that it was a green screen.
Yeah. I don't know about that. I mean, those are whatever. I'm talking about talking about going into the crowd and kissing men and women.
Right.
I mean, that just I watched that video like 10 times in a row because I just couldn't get enough of his. He's just got a real energy about him that it's infectious. No pun intended.
I mean, he's always been shooting from the hip, but right now he's like really shooting from the hip.
Yeah. So that's my two like my I wouldn't say proof, but I would say that's my my metric for did he actually get sick because he's even higher than normal.
Right. So you think kind of the proof per se is him being hopped up on even more drugs.
Exactly. I mean, the steroids seem like they do great things for you. And I know there's people that are taking steroids at the gym I go to, and I'm thinking about talking to them next time I go.
About their steroids?
I want in, man. Are you kidding me?
I mean, what are you going to use it for?
I'm going to use it to get very strong and happy.
Is your penis too big?
Shrink it up, baby. No, I mean there is like one guy in particular at my gym who 1,000% is doing steroids.
I
No
mean,
doubt about it.
you could be the next $100 baby.
A little foreshadowing. Is that season 2?
Ooh.
I think. Yeah, that is season 2.
Yeah, I think it is.
Oh, I want to get through this first season. Although today's episode it really did tickle me.
Yeah, it tickled me and my fancy.
Hey, you're a smart guy that knows about liability and insurance and property.
Well, let's find out.
So, the apartment building where we bought our apartment, like a year before we moved in, they sealed off all the fireplaces and whatnot to, I guess because it's a cost to maintain them and there's an environmental concern. So our apartment has a fireplace which we've never used. What would I mean? I've been thinking about starting a fire in there. Do you think that's a bad idea? I just open the windows.
If the fireplace has been sealed, then yes, it's a terrible idea.
I mean, smoke goes up, so I just
Smoke
open
goes
the windows.
up the chimney.
Yeah,
I
so
mean,
if I open the windows, it'll just go up and then out.
yeah, it will go up and fill like 1/3 to 1/2 of the room until it comes down enough to hit the window level, and then a little bit will trickle out the window,
Yeah,
and you'll have
okay.
an apartment that is half oxygen, half smoke. Yeah.
Gotcha. I mean, it smells so good, and there's a few of the buildings on our street have functioning fireplaces, and I'm just so jealous. I'm so jealous. And it's cold.
Yeah.
It's cold here already, man. It's cold.
Right. Well, that's the interesting thing. I guess it depends. A lot of different countries have different approaches. I think New Zealand is where like
New
all
Zealand.
of our wood burning stoves come from.
What?
And yeah, I mean not all. There's I think it's
From the Hobbit technology, right?
yeah. I mean they've had like millions of years in fantasy world to develop interesting, and they have magic, so it's
Right.
helpful. No, I mean there's actually some from your way. I don't know if they're Finnish. Yodel is one big company. I don't know if it's Finland or Norway or
Well, if it's
something.
Finnish, it's from Finland.
Well, right, but I'm not sure if it's from Finland. Anyway,
Okay.
but different countries have like different priorities with wood burning stoves. A fireplace is dumb, but wood burning stoves are awesome. So you should find out if your apartment building would let you install like an efficient new wood burning stove.
Where would the smoke go?
You would use
Out the window.
chimney infrastructure.
Well, the chimney's sealed.
Okay, how is it? Did they pour cement through the whole thing?
I fucking explained it at the beginning of the story, and said that it happened before we moved here.
Well, you said it happened, so you don't know how they sealed it.
No, of course not.
That's what I'm saying. You have to look into. Because that's not typically how you would seal off a chimney. It's not like you'd fill it with concrete. Usually you just do like a block off sort of plate, and it might be easily reversible. And if you requested, they might be like, yeah, if you want to pay to have a chimney liner installed and a wood burning stove installed, you might not want to pay for it. But wood burning stoves are pretty awesome.
The one neighbor that I know here was telling me that he brought it up, and he was like, "What if we wanted to, get the fireplaces functional again?" And they said that everyone in the building would have to agree, obviously, and that it costs like $4,000 or something like that, like thousands of dollars per apartment to do it.
And they said everyone would have to have, like, not just everyone would agree that you could do yours, but everyone would have to agree to do theirs.
Yeah, exactly. It's
Oh, right.
I mean, they're socialists over here,
True.
borderline
it sounds
communists.
It sounds like maybe just open the windows. It sounds like that might be your best bet.
I can't see any other way around it.
What? Okay, so
Get that good smoky smell.
yeah. And the best part is you could burn your trash and create more stars.
Exactly.
Oh,
Hey,
wait,
were you impressed that I found that quote?
Yeah, you nailed it. You killed it.
I just wanted to pat myself on the back. That I was
Well,
it came through when I was editing, and I was like, they're talking about burning trash, and so I googled it and found it.
Also, have you ever seen those? okay, like a planter box that sits outside your window.
Yeah.
That's a nice little thing. But instead of that, you could just like get a metal frame one and then just build a fire in that, so it would actually be outside.
And you can make s'mores
Yeah,
every night.
you could put a
Wouldn't really
fake hot
warm.
dog.
Wouldn't really warm the inside of the apartment.
You could have a fan in front of it blowing.
Oh, okay. I like this.
Okay, cool.
It's so funny to think that like there's that Sunny bit about burning trash, and like it's kind of insane to think about. But growing up on a farm, that was like one of my daily chores was burning the trash.
Where else are you going to put it?
And I mean, we didn't get like a like a county-wide dumpster program until I think I was probably already moved away, because I've burned a lot of trash in my time.
And coming back full circle, doesn't your trash get burned right now?
Oh yeah. They like the Swedes are. I don't know if they still are, but it was a couple years ago that they were buying trash from China
To burn.
Yeah, because they use it for electricity. I don't know what it's converted to. It might be electricity.
I mean, other than stars. Should we talk about Tom Brady?
Let's talk about Tom Brady, which is crazy because this show is from like 15 years ago, and Tom Brady is still playing football.
Ooh, football seems like one of those things that's like damaging to your body.
He's a quarterback. He's bionic. Yeah.
That the quarterback is the guy that everybody protects.
Exactly. I mean, they still get pretty fucked up.
I mean, their job isn't like human battering ram. That's like a secondary thing.
Yeah. They're not using their smashing their head up against someone else every 3 minutes.
It's considered a failure if he gets run into. Whereas other people, that's their entire job is to have people run into them and not let them pass.
Right.
Okay, so ladies, gentlemen, welcome to, I guess this, are we calling this episode 6? Because this is season 1, episode 6?
No, this is episode 7 for us. Right?
Okay, so, but
I don't know. Who cares?
That's what I'm saying. I think we should just go to it because we started on 2 and then we added 1.
Well, we started on 1. It's just unlistenable.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
That's for the Patreon. Again, whenever we fire that up, which should be any day now.
Anyway, this is season 1, episode 6 of Always Sunny in Philadelphia. So you're listening to Always Stockholm in Los Angeles.
Very good.
Yeah, so let's go. Let's go. Go. Okay, so Dee and Mac, they walk into the bar. They're talking about Tom Brady. This is like a classic Mac thing where he's talking about how tough he is and how he could rough up Tom Brady and intimidate him. Maybe break his arm.
You can't break Tom Brady's arm.
Oh, yes, I can. No more Super Bowls for that pretty boy.
Yeah, and I'm assuming that's because Mac is a Philadelphia Eagles fan, and there's maybe a rival with the New England Patriots.
Oh.
I don't know enough about football, but I think that's the case because they're both, in the same general region in America.
You're informing me that Tom Brady doesn't play for the Eagles. I just assumed he was the local guy and he messed up. Now that makes sense.
Yeah, I think it's a rivalry thing.
Right. From
I think
what
he
I
was
understand,
a very hated man in places outside of Boston.
Yeah, because don't they win every year?
They did for a while, yeah.
Everyone must hate them because obviously everyone else lost.
That's who your friend Gronk played for.
Oh. Is he not a quarterback?
No, he was a tight end, I think.
The way people were throwing around that word Gronk like it was a normal thing, it seemed like he was John McEnroe or something.
Yeah, he got pretty famous being kind of he was a good football player, but he was just like a total goof in like his public appearances. I don't know. He's like a lovable dumb guy. Whatever.
I yearn for the days of the refrigerator Perry.
Of course, and the Super Bowl shuffle.
Hell yeah. Okay, anyway, so Mac and Dee come into the bar, talking about sports, and then they notice a dead guy. Shit.
There's a really funny turn. Like I think the implication is that they can smell him because Mac kind of like makes a frowny face and then like flips 180.
Yes, and this is something I've said like 8 out of the past 6 episodes. But that's like a dance move. He like, you know what I mean? He does like one foot over the other and does like a really nice spin. It feels
Yeah, it's
choreographed.
graceful. It's graceful. Yeah.
But it's great. So yeah. So they basically you see the sleeping quote unquote guy in the background, and Mac, he reacts, frown, nice spin, and he's like, oh shit, who left some hobo sleeping in the bar?
It was Charlie.
Turns out Charlie.
And then he like starts. He grabs a pool cue and starts like poking him kind of hard. I was thinking about that while he was doing that. I was like, man, the guy who's playing the dead guy he's really getting poked pretty hard in the ribs with a pool cue.
Do you think there's any chance that they got an actual dead guy to play that part?
Probably. Yeah, that's a good point. The guy probably was dead.
I mean, if you were, let's say you were like a widower or a child of a parent who had passed away, don't you think that would be a cool, like, talk about method acting? It
That
seems
would
like
be-
you could get a lot of good roles as
that
dead
would be
people.
hard. That would be hard to cast. It's all
Why?
comes down to the timing.
Oh, right. You do have, I mean, acting is hard enough when you're like only viable from like 16 to 24.
Right.
So this would be like a few days, is what you're saying?
Oh, I think even less than that. I'm talking hours.
Oh, come on. I guess I guess you need pliability. Anyway, one thing before Mac grabs the pool cue, I really like the exchange where Mac goes in to like yell at him at first,
Yeah.
and then he reels back and says, "Oh shit, D, he shit his pants." And as D's walking away, not wanting to deal with it, she's like setting up the bar. She's like, "I don't want to know that." For some reason, I just think her saying that she doesn't want to know that is a really interesting, off-the-cuff sounding response.
Yeah. I mean, Caitlin Olsen I first saw her in Curb Your Enthusiasm, which is known for being pretty improvisational, and so she was probably improvising. It felt improvised. And then Mac realizing that the person is non-responsive turns and says, "That bitch is dead," and it's the title screen. And then it comes back, and we're still at the bar, and it's the EMTs wheeling out the body, and they're talking about like how this could happen. And Charlie, he was apparently working by himself, and the guy ordered one drink, and then he didn't think about it for the rest of the night, and closed up shop with him inside of it.
I don't want to blame the kid. I could see myself doing the same thing.
And Dee really starts laying it on thick with her phobia of old people. Things like old people are gross are said, something like that. And then they have to like clean the bar, obviously. So it's like a very common Sunny trope where everyone looks directly at Charlie, and Charlie gets picked for some Charlie work.
Yep.
And,
I feel like that's the concept. Is like, yep, it's the dirty work is the Charlie work.
Exactly. And he puts on a pretty great, I don't know what you call it. He's wearing some protective gear. He's got the face mask. He's got something over his eyes, I think. He's got a trash bag over his shirt, but only like his arms are sticking out of it.
And the dish gloves.
And the dish gloves and a hose.
I think there are two things. Well, I forgot one of them, but one is that I think this is the first time we see his horse T-shirt.
Okay, yeah, that's a good one.
I was doing a little research, and this is the first time we see that, which becomes his sleep shirt. And I really like the line when they're when he comes out in the getup, the PPE version that they use in Patty's, and he's like, "I can't believe you're making me do this." And I think Dennis responds, "I can't believe you left a dead guy in the bar overnight."
Yeah, he's got a point.
It's like, yeah.
So Charlie starts like hosing down the booth, and Dennis instantly stops him and says, you have to isolate the area. You're just spraying decomposition all over the bar.
We need to isolate the area, okay? You're just gonna spread whatever parts of him decomposed overnight.
No.
Which Charlie refers to as science talk.
What are you, a scientist, dude?
Yeah. So then there's like a bit of a Sunny style argument where everyone's talking at the same time, and to interrupt this argument, in walks Rebecca.
Rebecca Keane, also known as Lindsay McKeon.
Go on.
She was in a bunch of stuff that I don't know or care about. I think some of it was pretty legit. She seems like a real actress, maybe, or actor. But most importantly, she was dating someone Sterling, apparently, who is the son of Donald Sterling.
Oh, I
Do you know
thought
who that
it
is?
was. Yeah, I thought it was going to be Donald Sterling at first.
No. She dated his son, like Aaron Sterling or something.
Okay.
And I guess they broke up. I should probably double check this because I read it real quick yesterday, but they broke up. She started dating someone else, and I think there was drama between the two. And I think Aaron Sterling shot the new boyfriend with a shotgun.
Holy shit.
I don't think he died, but that's what I gleaned from Wikipedia. There was some serious issues.
The Sterlings are quite a bunch, if that's the case. Yeah, so Rebecca comes in, and it's immediate that it's like Mac versus Dennis. Like, as soon as they see her, she's like an attractive girl, and
Yeah.
like,
I mean, this is the kind of girl that you might shoot someone with a shotgun over. You know, she's
Apparently,
very
yeah.
attractive.
yeah. There's he was my, what's his name, Lionel? Yeah, Lionel Keane. He was my grandfather. I didn't really know him that well, but I'm his only family, so the cops called me, and she the concept is very weird. She wanted to see where he spent his last night, but she doesn't really know him.
Right.
Whatever. They had to get her into
The mix
the
somehow.
show.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I really like that Dee's reaction is very like heartfelt, and obviously you can see Dennis and Max scheming, but then when they pan over to Charlie and he's in his outfit with the trash bag and the maybe goggles with the mask like pulled down over his chin, and he's got these dish gloves that he's holding up kind of like a surgeon would.
Exactly.
In like
yeah.
that pose where you're like, I'm definitely not touching anything. This is very
Yeah.
sterile. And he just says,
I'm sorry for your loss.
the way he says that is so amazing.
Yeah, and he looks really like forlorn. Dennis and Mac are just trying to like see who can out-sympathize the other.
And obviously Dennis outdoing him every step.
Yeah, Mac says that.
Yeah, just a very warm and gentle soul, actually.
I thought that line was really funny.
Also, I think that, again, this entire thing, now that Charlie's like really in the mix for this episode, everything I say is going to be Charlie related. But when Rebecca does say, I just wanted to see where my grandfather spent his last night, it does cut to Charlie. And using that same pose with the hands up in those dish gloves, he kind of almost motions with his wrist and says, that would be somewhere in this vicinity over here.
Yeah, yeah.
He references like the booth. It's so good. The
Yeah.
way he's like decked out and being so sympathetic. Oh, he's the best.
Yeah, and so Rebecca has to go back to work, and they're gonna keep in touch about the memorial service. And Dee is seemingly the most affected by this, and like actually does feel bad, and says, that Mac and Dennis are being pigs, and it's disgusting what they're doing, and we should think about how this man was abandoned by his family, and how it reminds her of her grandfather, Pop Pop.
I like that that when she references how people abandon their parents, and Dennis, I think, says, "Well, people don't abandon their parents." And Charlie's like, "Have you ever been to a nursing home? People abandon their parents all the time."
Yeah. Yeah, and he says it's,
Sad throwaway culture we live in.
which is a line that comes up again and again in this show.
Right. I think that's what he says as they cut away when he starts spraying the booth.
The next scene, we are at Charlie's shithole apartment where he's watching cartoons.
Classic.
So apparently he got it all worked out with Wang. He's still got his place. And Dee comes in and she wants him to go to the nursing home to see Pop Pop with her because Dennis won't go, obviously, because Dennis is an asshole.
Yeah.
But she does have a bit of a phobia, so she needs someone to go with her. So she kind of explains that she doesn't like old people and that they're scary and that they're gross and it's a lot to do with their hands because they're like translucent.
It's their hands mostly. You know how you can see right through them. They're all their inside businesses.
That's my favorite part when she says
Yeah.
you could see right through their hand all, and you could see all the inside business.
Yeah.
That line, I think she kind of delays when she says business, and it felt very improv. So it's interesting for you to say that earlier when you referenced being on Arrested Development or no, Curb Your Enthusiasm. Yeah, so that's what it felt like to me. It felt like she was saying that you can see all their, inside business. She's great.
Yeah. Yeah, I had two grandparents that were in nursing homes, and yeah, it can definitely be a bit of a depressing spot.
Oh God, yeah, it's the worst.
Yeah, there really is. You can kind of see the people that maybe are lonely, or I don't want to like jump to conclusions about being abandoned by their families, but yeah, there's definitely the people that you kind of instantly feel for, and goddamn, I'd never want to go to one of those places.
Well, but that's the thing. It's like, what do you do? Like, even if it's you or I, like, what do we want to happen if if we have a significant other and they die, and then our children, if we have them, are running around doing stuff, taking care of their kids. Like, what's the option? We get to a point where, you going up and down stairs is like not an option, or it's difficult.
Yeah.
And, doing minor tasks, you forget that the stove is on, or you do this, you do that. Like, it sucks, but
Yeah, it's rough. I don't know what the answer is.
yeah. I just realized that how old my parents are, which makes me realize how old I am, but they're
Right.
doing pretty good. Like, they're still pretty happening and around. That makes me feel good about the next 30 or so years.
Yeah, exactly. Nothing could happen between now and 30 years. Yeah, I kind of feel the same way about my parents, although the tiny town that they live in has a bunch of new corona cases, apparently.
Yikes.
So there's that, but I mean, I think that they're pretty isolated as is.
Right. Yeah, social distancing, baby.
Yeah. Anyways, yeah. So Charlie kind of does this negotiation tactic with Dee, and he says he'll go with her if he can borrow her car anytime he wants, which is quickly negotiated down to borrow her car once.
You have to let me borrow your car anytime I want.
No.
Every now and then.
No.
One time.
All right.
One time.
Yeah. And then there's a lunch negotiation as well.
You have to take me to lunch twice a week for a year.
No, I don't.
Once a week. Today.
Okay.
Great.
Yeah, my favorite part of that, other than the concept, which reminds me of, what is that old spy? Is it Get Smart? Is that the old, like, 60s, 70s spy movie?
Yeah.
He does this thing. He says, "Would you believe?" And then people say no. He's like, "Would you believe I run 10 miles and do 700 push-ups every day?" And they say no. And he's like, "Would you believe I do 1 mile and 50 push-ups?" And they're like, "Nah." He's like, "Would you believe I get out of bed and I think about doing a push-up?" It's like this extreme self-negotiation sort of thing. And that's what it reminded me of. But my favorite part of that is it sounds like Charlie's randomly making up these things. Like, he says, "You have to take me to lunch twice a week for a year."
Yeah.
Just out of the blue, picking numbers and dates.
Exactly.
Yeah. So then do we go back to or do we go to the nursing home with Charlie and
Exactly.
Dee?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, first of all, Dee is crushing it at this point because you're really seeing, she sort of got worked up about how gross old people were and how she was scared of them. But here she's really putting it to the test and actually displaying how grossed out she is. Fun fact, I think Caitlin Olsen's grandfather actually believed that she thought old people were super gross after he saw this.
She makes it very convincing.
right?
She has
She's
like
so good.
she has a lot of really specific issues with old people.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. So the whole
what
scene.
if he asks what if he asks us to help him go to the
Go
bathroom?
to the bathroom. Right. Yeah. So the whole time she's like tensed up, and she's also so much taller than Charlie. It's crazy.
Yeah.
But she's like all tensed up and nervous. Her shoulders are like up, and her arms are in, and she's like wringing her hands. She's freaking out, and she's doing a great job. And, and then I forget how it comes up, but Charlie's very nonchalant about it. He's like, she's telling him how gross they are, and he says,
Oh my God, look at that one.
Hey, they have ears, all right? All right, listen to me, D. The slow and painful crawl to death is an inevitable part of life, so just embrace it, all right?
I love it.
And he says that kind of like as a woman in the background is like doing some like physical therapy, walking in a walker.
Yeah, they're just like dodging old people everywhere. So then they finally make it to Pop Pop's room. I think that she finally kind of gets it under control. Charlie convinces her to relax, and I think she maybe even says like, "How bad could it be?" And then when they open the door, he's like hooked up to machines with lights bleeding, and
Yeah.
he looks awful.
It is quite a reveal.
Yeah, it's a great scene. I forget what do you know what she says?
Oh, Jesus. He doesn't even look like a real person.
And then she bails. She has to leave.
Yeah, she's out of there. And Pop Pop, who's looking a little worse for the wear, played by Tom Bauer. Tom Bauer has been in a bunch of stuff. I would say most notably Die Hard 2.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wait, what was he the main guy in Die Hard 2?
I don't think so.
Oh.
He's been in a zillion things. He was in West Wing. He was in Dallas, Hill Street Blues, Miami Vice.
Wow.
He was rocking it in the 80s, early 90s.
That's impressive. He's got quite a rap sheet.
But yeah, he really doesn't have any front teeth, which is they did a really good job with making him look. He's probably in like his early 70s when they filmed this, but damn, he looks like shit.
Yeah, he looks 1,000.
And it's just Charlie and Pop Pop in the room together, and
Yeah.
of course, Pop Pop being ancient and decrepit, he can't see too good, and so he thinks that Charlie is Dennis, his only grandson.
Which is funny because he also mentions that he's a lot shorter than he thought he would end up.
Yeah.
You're a lot shorter than I thought you'd wind up.
Yeah. Well, I'm actually still growing, so.
Right.
You kind of think that Charlie Kelly might actually think that he's still growing.
That's true. Also, Pop Pop being 1,000 years old is also super racist.
Oh boy, he's had everything
Keeps-
stolen from him.
He keeps blaming all the Jews at the nursing home about this, that, and the other. Yeah, he's really not happy.
And he gives Charlie a candy, and Charlie's like, all right, yeah, sure, and like pops it in his mouth, and then instantly wants to spit it out, but he doesn't want to do it in front of him, so he like kind of covers his mouth. I don't know, it's a very, very cute little bit. And then we see Dee in the bathroom, who's like basically having a panic attack and like splashing water on her face. And she turns around, and there's just like some old lady standing there, like staring at her, like McPoyle style. And
I think there's a little bit of that, but also it's kind of like the cutest, like innocentest old lady.
Yeah,
But she rips a Wilhelm scream that is awesome.
it is. Yeah, the intensity struck me. I didn't remember that. And yeah, she's really scared of old people.
Yeah. I was curious if they like edited the audio, like did any kind of manipulation to make it sound more
Probably.
like visceral and intense.
Probably. And Pop Pop needs Dennis / Charlie to do him a favor because he wants to be buried in his uniform because he was a war hero. And he says something notable in this scene. He says, "You wouldn't know that because your bastard father would never have told you." And that is probably the first mention of Frank. But I think that is also implying that Frank is his son, which is not, that's Pop Pop is their mom's dad.
Right.
But yeah, that was just kind of interesting that they already are calling Frank a bastard before he's even an actual character in the show.
Right. And I did a little bit of reading, and apparently, like, Frank wasn't written in yet.
No, I think he wasn't.
So this was just like a happy accident.
Yeah. Yeah, so the gist of this is that he asks Charlie to go to the, I forget the name, like Rolling Hills Storage Unit or whatever.
Oh, you mean the Roxborough?
Roxborough, that's what it was.
Roxborough storage facility.
To get his stuff.
So yeah, I think that. Oh no! Oh my God, we completely skipped it. But when Pop Pop first asks Charlie for a favor, Charlie's like, "Oh, I don't know if I could do. I don't know how comfortable I feel." And honestly,
First of all, I don't even know which one of these things I would unplug.
Oh yeah, how could I forget that? Yeah, he wants, he thinks he wants him to kill him.
right? And
That's maybe the funniest part of the show.
yeah, Pop Pop's great too because he's kind of decrepit, but then he has moments of clarity, which I think is like a real thing. You know what I mean? Like when you're talking to your like ancient, like on death's door grandparent or whoever it is, if they get upset, sometimes they can like snap back into lucidity, and that's what he does. He's like,
No, you idiot.
He came crashing back to reality.
yeah. So that was pretty awesome.
Yeah. Okay, then the next scene is a quick one, kind of back at the bar, right? And this is where Rebecca is telling Mac and Dennis that she's planning the funeral, and this is just like a even more amplified one-upsmanship
Right.
game happening. She's like, yeah, I need to find like some of his friends or the people that he was around, and Mac is for some reason being honest, and he says like,
Oh, yeah, that might be difficult to do.
Dennis just like pounces on it. It's like, nope, no, that'll be easy. I got it.
No, it's not going to be a problem. I knew a lot of his friends. Good guys.
Won't be hard for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, right now we're definitely seeing like Dennis in full Dennis mode of being slimy and creepy and conniving.
Yeah. Yeah, and Rebecca is already like attracted to, seemingly attracted to Dennis. And she's like touching his arm, and he's sitting next to her, kind of close in the bar. And that whole interaction ends with Mac being like, "Oh, well, do you need another drink?" And Dennis responds with,
No, we're fine.
Right. That's the most dismissive way that he could say it and
Yeah.
establish that Dennis and Rebecca are a we.
Right.
And Mac is not only not the we, but also like the person who would be serving them. It's very, very, it's a strong move by Dennis.
yeah, and Mac is just like seething by the end of it.
We then flip to, I guess it's like the next day and Charlie's going to hit up D. Is that the scene?
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, I like this scene because Charlie's like really on. He's like bouncing, and it feels, I don't know what it is, but I really like Charlie in this scene. He knocks on her door, and he's like, "All right, I need to borrow your car." And she's like, "No, I wasn't serious." He's like, "You promised? Go get your keys. Give me them." And he's like very confident and very assured of himself. He's commanding. He has a commanding presence. So she's like, "Fine." She gives him the keys, and she's like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "I got something to do with Pop Pop. I'm on a mission. I'm going." She wants to tag along, but he says no, and he says, "Yeah, if you want to go, you could take the bus."
So good. Yeah, it's just him and Pop Pop.
Yeah, they got a special thing going.
Yeah, so then the next scene is the homeless shelter.
Okay, this is where they try and wrangle up some quote unquote friends of
Yeah.
Lionel's.
Yeah, and the guy that they initially approach, is he wearing pants? Because it kind of looked like he wasn't.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I just remember a very long pause after they
Yeah.
ask him if he has any nicer clothes.
Got some nicer clothes? Right.
Yeah, wonderful
It's,
pause.
yeah, it's pretty good. I think there's two sets of camera angles. They ask him. They're like, "Hey, you want to make $20?" He says, "Sure." And then Dennis asks if he has any better clothes, and then there's a shot of him, back to them, back to him, and then back to them again before they look at each other and say, "Oh, right, yeah, okay, never mind."
So good, so good. And then there's just a quick cut to Charlie at the Roxborough Storage Center, and he is just like digging through a box and he finds something, and I think he just says,
Holy shit.
Yep, that's the quote. I don't know if it actually does it, but every time I see a scene in a show or a movie like this, I always picture the thing that they're opening having that glow.
"Glow." Exactly. Yeah, I know what you mean.
I don't
Like
think it
Pulp
actually
Fiction-
does.
The Pulp Fiction,
Yep.
Pulp Fiction briefcase. Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. It's a very like Holy Grail sort of vibe,
totally. Yeah, the Nazi uniform probably doesn't glow,
but it could.
it could. And the next scene,
So that I think now that they're at the funeral or the viewing,
and they just set out a pack of very hungry men who are maybe not dressed appropriately for the funeral.
yeah,
To
I mean,
the
yeah, they came straight from the soup kitchen. They're like over the top homeless looking.
fighting over
Yeah, they-
sandwiches.
Yeah, they're just like packing sandwiches from the funeral wake, whatever, into their pockets.
Yeah, Dennis has a really funny line where he says, Rebecca says something like, "Those are my grandfather's friends," and Dennis says,
He loved those guys.
because they obviously don't give a shit about the funeral that they're at.
Right. Yeah, so this is just a little continuation of the pissing contest between Dennis and Mac for Rebecca's affection. What happened? I think Dennis says that he's prepared something as far as a bit of a eulogy, and then he immediately says, "Mac, did you prepare something?" "Oh, wait, right. You aren't good at public speaking, and you get all tensed up, and your third grade stutter comes back. Right? I forgot."
So good.
Super petty, super harsh. Yeah.
And then Mac's phone rings, and Dennis is kind of like laying into him about that too, and says, "You better answer it." So he answers it. It's Charlie, who's adamant that he comes over to his apartment, calls it an emergency.
Yep. It's an emergency.
And Mac, being the good friend that he is like, fine. And so he
That also might be Mac realizing that he is outgunned, so he might be
he's
hedging
yeah.
his bets.
Yeah, he's been outgunned since the first second of this, basically.
Right.
And so Mac, who's, by the way, wearing like a polo shirt with a tie, it looks
Right.
really funny. And he breaks it to Dennis and Rebecca that's Charlie and he has to go. And Dennis is not too sad to see him leave. And he asks for the keys to Dennis's car, but Dennis is like, "You've been drinking." And then Mac again is just like, "God damn it," and storms off. And Dennis makes a remark to Rebecca about like, he's a good guy, but he's got a bit of a drinking problem. Like they don't all have the same drinking problem.
Right. And that Dennis probably was drinking already when
Exactly,
he
yeah.
drove over. Yeah.
Right. And then next is a bit of a legendary scene in the world of Always Sunny, when Mac's like pounding on the door. Charlie says, "Who is it?"
Who is that? It's Mac, dude. This better be good.
And he opens the door, and he is wearing a full Nazi uniform and eating a banana and just kind of like nodding his head in satisfaction.
Yeah. It really feels like a pinnacle sort of moment for Charlie.
And then there's like a weird cut to Dee at a bus stop with an old guy being there. I guess it's just to establish that she is going to see Pop Pop.
Right. Yeah. I think it's just a very good, super innocent, super nice old guy with maybe a walker just standing next to her, and she kind of shimmies over away from him.
And then we're back in the apartment, and Mac and Charlie are looking through the box, and they find a picture of Pop Pop wearing the uniform, and it's a picture of Glenn Howerton, Dennis, just wearing a Nazi uniform.
Yeah, because Mac is like, well, this could be some like collectible sort of memorabilia stuff. We don't know. And then Charlie produces the photographic evidence where it's
there's
like,
evidence.
Oh shit, yeah, he looks just like Dennis.
And then that's when they start scheming to like, how can we profit off of this? And the prospect of like selling it on eBay comes up, but I think that's illegal. And then they kind of fall into like the Indiana Jones mentality, where like this belongs in a museum.
Right.
So
I
that's
think
what they're
that's
gonna
when
do.
Max says we could sell it to a museum, and then Charlie says,
I could live with that.
So do we see Dee continuing her adventure, or do we see them at the museum?
I think this goes back to the funeral. This is where Dennis is giving a speech.
Right.
The story that he tells about, he said he was spending Christmas Eve with Lionel. He was making him dinner because like it's some sort of tradition, and they start talking about the spirit of giving, I think, and they decide, why are we talking about this? Let's go do this. And so they go to a shelter and they feed all the hungry mouths. And
not only did they feed every poor soul there,
But we wash the feet of every man, woman, and child there. In the spirit of Christ.
pretty vivid imagery there. And then it ends with him calling him Lionel the Lion. Yeah, then we go to the museum where they meet with the curator who, I was like, that guy looks so familiar. His name is Ted Rooney, the actor who plays him. He's just been in a bunch of TV shows and stuff as kind of like the same guy every time, one of those character actors.
was he in the band Rooney?
I don't think he was, no. He might be a little too old.
Because I know there was an actor in that band, so I thought maybe it was him.
Yeah, I don't know who that was.
I'm kidding. I knew who that was.
This guy was in. There was one thing. Oh, he was in Portlandia. I think that's where I recognize him from. But he was also a doctor in ER. He was in Gilmore Girls. 19 episodes of Gilmore Girls. Jesus.
Wow.
Yeah, so they are kind of negotiating with him, and he is appalled. Basically the curator is not into it at all, and threatens to call the cops.
I plan to call the police the minute you guys leave my office.
I always think it's interesting when they react with normal humans, because I'm watching the show, at least. I don't know about anyone else. I won't say we or you, but I am watching the show, and it's funny and it all makes sense in context, and then they interact with someone who's normal and everything they do is reprehensible, and you kind of forget it because you're in it, or I'm in it.
Yeah, it's a bit of a grounding experience.
Yeah, it's always fun to do that and it's usually with therapists, lawyers, other people like this.
Yeah, or waiters. Yeah, so it didn't go so well at the museum. Next scene is Dee's bus arrives at the nursing home where her plan is to read books to him, and he doesn't seem too psyched on that.
Okay, fine.
And he's like, where's Dennis? He's supposed to be here hours ago. Yeah, it's just her, and she wants to read some books to him, and he does the same thing he did with Charlie, where he's like, oh, my eyes aren't too good. Sit a little closer, and basically all of her worst fears are being realized at this moment. He
starts putting his hand on her face, and then eventually starts commenting on her teeth.
Oh God, yeah.
When he starts pulling at her lips, trying to touch her teeth, and she loses it.
And she as she's running out, she's like, "Where's the bathroom?" And then he has a really funny way of just being oh, it's down the hall and on the left, almost like he expected it.
Right.
And they did it.
Yeah, that's when he breaks.
They did a real good job with the effects here, because it would you would assume that it would just be whatever, a sitcom, she's just gonna stick her head in the trash can and vomiting is implied, but it's coming out between her fingers, and then she actually hurls some sort of liquid into the trash can. That was
My note is that this is a great vomit take. It really is. Yeah, it obviously the volume that you're not allowed to, but that it's possible to vomit or pretend vomit without actually vomiting is limited to what you can keep in your mouth. But she does a really good job, whether on purpose or not, by coughing it out before she gets there.
Exactly.
And
between the fingers. Yeah.
Exactly. And then when she gets there, she releases the rest of it. But I always think that's the problem. When you see someone throw up in a show, it's either you see it and it's not enough, or they stick their head in the toilet and you just hear it.
Or there's that old classic SNL gag where they had the hose attached to their sleeve. You know what I'm talking about?
Right. Yeah.
It's
when it's
spraying.
Just comically everywhere. Yeah.
Yeah. That's pretty good too. Or Team America. There's a great vomiting, even though those aren't real people.
Right.
The best vomiting scene. Yeah.
A little
the best
easier.
vomiting scene of all time.
But Having said that, I think this version of it, has probably done like the best version that I've seen
Exactly.
of this style. Yeah.
We know that she's good at the dry heaving, so this is just part of her toolbox.
She's really good at the wet heaving too.
Yeah, exactly. After the vomiting, we go to the famous alley behind the bar. Which is that actually that's in Philly, right? Because the front exterior is LA. I know that.
I was just thinking that, and I don't know. I tried to look at the background, like the street that you could see at the end of the alley, and I think it might be L.A.
I mean, there's no reason why it wouldn't be, because it's just like an urban area that could kind of be anywhere. But I feel like there's other episodes of this show where they're back there, and I think it is Philly. But here I was just kind of like, I'm not sure, because it doesn't really, there's no need for it to be in Philly.
Right. I don't know how any of this works, but also I don't think there's any other exterior shots that would have been shot in Philly. So for this episode, at least, it would have just been the one single scene.
Yeah, but I mean, they do all the scenes in LA, for a few months,
Cool.
and then they do all
Yeah.
the scenes in Philly. So like, I don't know. It's a mystery. If anyone knows,
That
email
seems
Will.
so hard. Like to keep the continuity and like
the wardrobe,
the motif. Just even like the mindset, it seems crazy to be like, okay, now we're going to shoot 15 seconds from this episode. And then we
it's
have to
super
do,
weird.
like a minute from this episode. It's so crazy.
The next season, with the introduction of Danny DeVito, if I remember correctly, he had a very limited amount of time on set, and so they had to do all of his scenes first. And that just seems insane to me.
Oh, God. Yeah, exactly. Out of order and like, yeah. It's
way out of order.
wild.
Yeah.
Anyway, so they are in the alley, the famous alley.
And they're doing one of my favorite activities,
Burning stuff.
burning trash.
This is another spot where Charlie uses logic, and I think it's great. I forget exactly what I think this is when... I think Mac might be complaining. He's like, are you sure we have to burn it? Because they're planning to burn the Nazi uniform and all the memorabilia. And Charlie simply explains that if they try and sell it, they could get arrested. But if they keep it, they can't do anything with it because it's, it's illegal or sketchy. So they might as well burn it because, burning stuff is fun. And it's like not the best logic or argument, but it's enough for Mac.
Yeah, it probably didn't have to take too much to convince Mac, but there's a good exchange between Charlie and Mac. Charlie's like, "You didn't keep any of this stuff, did you?" And Mac's like, No, dude, of course not." And then like a beat later is like, "Did you keep anything?" And Charlie says no.
No, dude. Okay.
Right.
And then at that point, Dennis shows up wearing the same clothes he was wearing at the funeral, but like casual style, no tie, shirts untucked. And he's like, "What are you guys doing?" Like, "Burning trash, huh? Cool." And they're all kind of like enjoying watching the trash burn because honestly, it's fun to watch.
Do you miss it?
Of course I do. Dude, of course I do.
Do you think you could get a job in the Swedish government burning trash?
I have a feeling that it's not quite the same vibe. I can look into it.
Please do. Oh, how about this? Are you able to compost in your building?
Well, we have, there's like the normal, like outside the building, there's like the normal trash waste, and then there's the food waste. But we don't keep it on
Interesting.
site. It's picked up by a company.
You have a little balcony, don't you?
Mm-hmm.
You should start your own little compost bin. It's kind of like burning trash, but the opposite.
Where you just let trash be destroyed naturally.
Yes,
I don't know
specific
if that would
kinds of
work.
trash, and by destroyed, it would be eaten by bugs.
Yeah. I don't know if that's the vibe I want to cultivate on the balcony.
Well, they have cool little containers, and then when it's all composty, then you could put, use it for planting flowers and
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, that part of it's great.
veggies.
It would be great if we had some chickens. I know you know what I'm talking about.
Well, I don't know how much space you have.
Let them eat those watermelon rinds and other stuff. eggshells.
Yeah, they'll eat eggshells, which is kind of weird.
It is weird.
But what would you do with the eggs, or would you only get roosters?
Are you talking about hypothetical my situation? Like
Yeah,
what
if
I
you
would,
had
like
a
if I had
few
chickens.
Chickens.
Yeah, I guess I would just try to sell them to the neighbors.
Interesting. So you're willing to profit off of animal product sales.
All right, you got me.
All right. Yes, it finally happened.
This hypothetical situation. Yeah.
Okay,
Well,
you're
I'm
on
not
a
gonna
deserted
okay.
island, and there is a train coming at you at 100 miles an hour, and your dog is on the tracks, strapped down, but the straps are actually made of snakes, but they're friendly snakes.
Okay.
Do you?
Yes.
Okay, so Dennis starts saying how he won, and he asks Mac if he wants to hear about what happened, and Mac's just over it. He's done. He's like, "No, you win. I give up. I secede the point. You are better. I am worse. Great." And Dennis does not let up. He just keeps pushing.
A normal friend would relent at that point, but Dennis just like turns it up.
Yeah, he just keeps going and keeps pushing. And there's like a point where Mac goes from like dejected to like a little smug, and he's like, "All right, you know what? You won, buddy. Congratulations." He shakes his hand, and Dennis says, "What's this?" And he's like, "Also,"
Your grandfather's a Nazi.
when he was shaking his hand, he puts the picture of a young Pop Reynolds, or not Pop Reynolds, Pop something else. Anyway, as a Nazi, and Dennis looks down, and you just see this picture basically of Dennis in a Nazi uniform from the 1940s. And that's when Dennis realizes the truth about Pop.
It's so funny how similar this scene is to I don't know the name of the episode, but the episode with the painting where it's the Adolf Hitler. It's all Pop. Oh yeah, it's Pop the final solution.
Right.
Where they're burning the German Shepherd painting that like is an original Hitler or it's not. It's got a real evil aura to it. But yeah, it's in the same alley, and they're again just like put it in a box and burn it.
Yep.
Pretty much identical.
Charlie loves burning stuff.
But then it turns out to actually be an original Adolf Hitler.
That is the end. We don't get any closure with D, but there is a tag on this episode. I think we haven't talked about the tags maybe for a few episodes if they've had them.
No, we have.
But I think this... Oh, we have? Okay.
Yeah.
I just have a terrible memory. But this one is good. It's like succinct. It's small. It's basically just a slow pan of Charlie's disgusting apartment, like his coffee table, and then up to him eating a giant bowl of cereal, watching cartoons. And then as it pans fully up and out, you see him wearing the hat from the Nazi uniform.
And, okay, so this scene, I have a question that is not going to be able to be answered by, like, mere mortals. I need like a Always Sunny super fan or like someone who worked on the show, because what the fuck is he watching? Did you notice the audio at all?
I sort of heard it, but I tried to figure out what they were saying, but nothing really made sense. What did you hear?
So it's like obviously like a cartoon. It's like, adult male voices sped up. You can kind of tell that's
right.
What it is.
Like high pitched falsetto, like, hey.
Yeah.
Hey guys.
So there's like two people talking, and like the beginning's kind of inaudible, but then there's a part where it goes. One person says, "Who lives in this hole?" And the other person's like, "What?" And the first person says, "This big brown hole." And then something else inaudible, and then it sounds like he starts to say "fuck" because it's like "fuck," and the episode cuts. So my theory is
I do remember the big brown hole.
It's just like, Charlie Kelly, Glenn Howerton, Rob McElhenney, like just goofing around and make this weird cartoon audio.
Who's your neighbor? I'm your neighbor, but let me ask you a couple questions. Go ahead, shoot. Ask away. Who lives in this here hole? What hole? That big brown hole. Oh, I'm inside that hole. Captain Ranger's in there too. All right, well, fuck.
That's my guess. That's what it is. It's like it's an original because they can't probably use an actual cartoon. Copyright, obviously reasons.
Right.
Anyways,
I
I
back
just
that.
I would love to
The big
know.
brown hole.
I want to hear the whole clip because it sounds really funny. But no, we talked about the tag from the last one too, because the last episode tag is Colin robbing them. How good that is.
Oh, right. When he calls them idiots.
Yeah, yeah. It's not like the one where Charlie goes to talk to Tommy's dad. That one sucked.
Yeah. So I guess maybe is it just that one that sucks, and the rest are fine.
I think I think it was the first couple actually. I'm not really gonna like. Let me see if I can just look at the episode list and tell you what the tag. Oh, look who's back! Holy shit!
Perfect timing. What's up?
Let's see. Gun fever. Charlie has cancer. Oh, the Charlie has cancer tag was the waitress not giving them the money back. Yeah,
so they're doing okay. Not great. Not terrible.
Yeah, it's better when they like kind of get rid of this little tradition. And I would also like to note, this is kind of going back a little bit, but Pop Pop does make a return in the episode that I was referencing earlier, which is
the final
like
solution.
7 years later, and they get Pop Pop back, and it's hilarious. That episode is really funny, and the lawyer's in that episode.
Can't wait to start seeing him.
And so what? We only have 2 more episodes in this season. Okay, so I guess we should do a sign off since it sounds like a fucking circus on your end.
Yes, we should probably call it a day.
This has been another episode of It's Always Stockholm in Los Angeles. Follow us on Twitter at Always Stockholm, where it's just me tweeting the same stuff that I usually tweet on my normal account.
But branded.
If you have any questions or comments, please don't hesitate to send them to us. It would be cool to do like a viewer mail section, listener mail.
Yes. And I think I almost found us a sponsor.
Okay, I'm listening.
But I just recently used their product and it was not good. So I decided to hold off.
Well, then maybe you shouldn't name them.
That's what I'm doing. I'm
see.
showing
Okay.
restraint.
You can tell me in like 2 minutes. Anyways, so that's the end of the episode, and this is Nate Harold and Will Noon, a.k.a. Natty and Noon, a.k.a. The 2 older gentlemen.
Ooh, that sounds kind of sexy.
It does.
The 2 older gentlemen. That would be our after dark.
Daddy and the Boy. Is that the stripper names?
Yes, Daddy and the Boy.
Oh God, this guy's killing me on the drums.
Oh, I got neighbors. Maybe I won't have neighbors at some point in my life.
Is there anything else you'd like to add, Will, before we say goodbye?
No, I think we're good. I think we're golden. Good night, folks. God bless. God isn't real.
Cool. I'm gonna hit stop.
Okay, I'll hit stop too. Bye.